Ooh.
That's good.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Drafters live stream that we're doing here on YouTube and Twitter. If you haven't signed up for Drafters already, be sure to do so. One, there's projecting to be quite a bit of overlay in this contest right now. We're looking around 60% filled with about a week left. So go ahead and get in while you still can. If you haven't signed up for Drafters yet, use promo code Football Guys. You get a 100% deposit match up to $100. This is the last one of these streams that I'm going to be doing of the season. So no better guess than to have last year's winner, Dan Hindery, took this contest down $500,000 up top, and he's going to share some insights that he has gathered from doing these. Dan, here we are at pick 5. You know, I feel like I can build strong teams from anywhere on the board. I do kind of like the late picks like 10, 11, 12 this year, but I feel like sitting here at 5 is really nice because you get one of those top tier players, and then sometimes you can still luck into getting one of the players that we really like with that round 3 pick as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I feel like my favorite is kind of in that 9 to 12 range right now.
Mm-hmm.
But this is nice where you do get one of those top 6 players. And it usually comes down to a choice here at 5 between Jefferson and Barkley. And I kind of go back and forth.
I know.
Do you have a strong preference there?
I have just been going with ADP. It was funny. The other day I did one of these at 5, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take Saquon here. And then I did another draft immediately after at 5, and I was like, well, I guess I'll go Jefferson here. So like, I don't really have a strong lean between those two. I was fading. I don't want to say fading, but I had Jefferson knocked down a little bit when he picked up that injury. So I've been a little bit more on bullish on Jefferson now, just kind of trying to get some of that exposure back. I'm sitting at like 22% Saquon Barkley right now. So big believer in the talent, but also, you know, happy to sprinkle some other guys in here. The one that I want to advocate for drafting here, but for whatever reason, like Christian McCaffrey just hasn't fallen into my lap in drafts this year. Like I want more Christian McCaffrey and I don't have him, but it's so hard to justify taking him over Gibbs or Jefferson or Barkley.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. I have him 7th, so it's almost like the only time I get him is if I'm 7.
Well, we got lucky here. Yeah,
like
I
Gibbs.
mean, I like Saquon Barkley. And this is another one where I have CeeDee Lamb ahead of Bijan Robinson, and I have Bijan Robinson ahead of Gibbs. So you can see this is the 30th one of these drafts that I've done. Somehow this is the first draft that I've ended up with Jahmyr Gibbs. So pretty happy that we finally got a Jahmyr Gibbs share here.
Yeah, I do think there's something to the idea. Like I'm a get your guys drafter, but in the first round, I don't maybe like subscribe to that quite as much. I like to kind of have exposure to pretty much all the first round guys. There might be some where I have a little bit more than others, but
yeah,
I don't start getting real aggressive in the first round.
CeeDee Lamb has kind of settled in as the second overall pick, falls into pick 3 every now and then. But early in the offseason, he was like, his ADP was 5th or 6th. Like he was going after Jefferson in a lot, you know, falling to 6. And I was taking him as the second player there. So ADP is like caught up at this point, but I'm sitting at 22% CeeDee Lamb because he's just a player that I was taking ahead of a lot of these guys earlier. Now he's kind of falling into, I think ADP is right now, but I felt like a month ago when CeeDee Lamb was falling, like I just couldn't help myself. And I was just drafting as much CD as I could in round 1.
Yeah, and I was the same way, especially because it felt like there was so much running back value in the back half of the second round, early third round. That's changed a little bit. Some of the running backs I like have moved up.
Yeah.
I think at 20, we're still in good shape. I have found, you know, some recent drafts where I went wide receiver, say like at the first or second pick. And then there's not much left at running back when I come back around. So that has, excuse me, changed a little bit in terms of how people are drafting. So like there goes Chase Brown at 15.
Yeah, Drake
that
London
was kind of like
Chase
one of
Brown.
my main guys. Yeah.
Yeah, Drake London and Chase Brown. That's like the main reason. Like when I'm picking at 12 and those two players are there, I feel like that's just such a good start when you can get Drake London at 12 and then Chase Brown at 13. Alfredo Brown and I, we just did a show talking about our guys, like our favorite players in drafts this year. And like for me, Drake London, I've got him all the way up as my wide receiver 4. I moved him ahead of Malik Neighbors. So like with him falling into round 2, that's one that just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Jonathan Taylor has kind of been my primary target here in the middle of round 2, but I like Ladd McConkey as well. Brock Bowers still struggling a little bit with that price, but fallen quite a couple of picks below ADP here. He goes off the board. So yeah, for me, Jonathan Taylor or Ladd McConkey here, but we've also got Jacobs, T. Higgins, Amarian Hampton, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Where do you want to go with this one?
I like Taylor here. I just think he has so much upside. And then getting those 2 big running backs, now we can really go hard on wide receiver. I think one of the things that has changed for me a little bit from when we drafted one of these teams about a month ago is that I felt pretty strongly then that I wanted to get 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds,
Hmm.
just because I feel like there's this big dead zone for like the next 10 rounds after that.
Right.
And now that we have so much more information, there are some running backs that I like who are values. So I don't feel as like in as big a hurry to get that running back 3. I like waiting a little bit more. So now I think we're in a great position where we can hit some of these wide receivers in the 3rd round. I know the guy you like, and I'm kind of warming up to him too if he gets there. But
Yeah.
there's also some others who I think should fit our team really well there too. So I think
And,
we're in a
and
good shape at this
And,
start
and you
here.
you talk about like getting more information about the running backs. The one, we talked about this when we did our first stream almost 2 months ago. That like Alvin Kamara in round 4 just felt like almost a free spot. Now I see him falling into round 5, which I think is even crazier,
Yeah.
especially here where it's full PPR. Like this is a guy who just last year was the RB2 in full PPR scoring, and we just see him falling down draft boards. And I think it's one of those things where like every year as we get closer to the season, I don't like the term casual drafters. I just don't know a better
Right.
term, but like people that aren't super plugged into every bit of news like we are, like they just see, Alvin Kamara, he's getting old, he's on a bad offense. And that's why you see him falling down draft boards. But like it wouldn't surprise me one bit if we're sitting there at 53 and Alvin Kamara is still on the board. And that's just such an
Oh
easy
yeah.
click to take as an RB3.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. He's one of those guys, and I especially like him in cumulative scoring because I think one of the negatives on like older running backs is that sometimes they do fade late in the season,
Hmm.
but it doesn't really matter in this format, because you're just
Right.
going cumulative points. So,
So I think for me, I like Jackson Smith-Njigba here. T. Higgins
yep.
goes off the
Yeah.
board, so we don't have him. And this is one where it's just easy for me. Like the one that I struggle with a lot is when it's T. Higgins, Lad McConkey, and Jackson Smith-Njigba all available. I really
Right.
like all of those guys, but this is one of those situations where T. Higgins and Lad McConkey go off the board, so pretty easy click there. And there are some other names. Garrett Wilson's still on the board. Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans. Are you ever taking those guys ahead of JSN, or do you have JSN firmly ahead?
Yeah, I do have Jason firmly ahead of those guys. I have just no interest in Tyreek Hill this year.
Yeah,
Um, so for me, like in the 3rd round, it's JSN. I have some interest in Devontae Adams in that range, and
same.
then like Omarion Hampton, or if like Josh Jacobs falls, Travion, and then like James Cook sometimes too. If I'm in that kind of 3-4 turn, I like James Cook near the 3-4 turn.
It's
Is
really
another guy I've
weird.
been targeting.
Like, I think James Cook should be a second round pick. And I understand that early in the offseason, there was concern about the contract. But like, even after signing that contract, his ADP didn't really move that much. I mean, this is a guy who's a workhorse on one of the best offenses in the league, catches passes, scores touchdowns. I don't really understand why his ADP hasn't gone up. He's a pretty easy click. And then you talk about Devontae Adams. I've warmed up to him a ton. We get in the reports that he is like the first read on the majority of plays, that he could be the target leader in the Rams this year. But this is another one that I think like people who are really paying attention to what's coming out of training camp and reading all the reports are kind of catching on to that. But it's not showing in his ADP. So ADP is 39, but with us picking there at 44, wouldn't be surprised if Adams is there and that, just an auto click if he makes it to you in the middle of round 4.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, this is a great spot. I feel like I always love the options here in like the 4th and 5th round. It's
Hmm.
um, just probably my favorite part of the draft, like that late 4th all the way through maybe like the middle of the 6th round this year. I'm just excited about so many of those guys.
Yeah, we've got somebody in the chat saying Cook touchdown regression. Sure, I think you could bank on the regression, but you could also bank on the usage where he has been like top 10 in weighted opportunities each of the last 3 years. And when you're on a good offense, I'm not banking on the touchdowns. I'm banking on the usage, which, as we saw last year, you can turn into a 20 touchdown season. Here's a question here. Are you okay with RJ Harvey as your RB2? Let's come back to that real quickly and make our pick here. Adams goes off the board. Tedero McMillan goes off the board. We're probably looking at wide receivers here. James Cook, that's pretty tough to not click on. George Pickens, Cortland Sutton, Jamison Williams, DJ Moore, Emeka Egbuka. Who jumps out to you here? I do like
I'm
James
leaning
Cook
to
in a vacuum, but I also like
I
Jamison Williams here if we want to go with another receiver.
Yeah, that's a tough. I think I like Cook, and then we can hit wide receiver pretty hard. And
Yeah, that's
um,
that's how I feel.
that's a tough one. So yeah, let's talk James Cook for a minute because I do think there is some merit to the touchdown regression thing, but it's also Josh Allen had 17 rushing touchdowns last year,
Right.
and so like there's also it could go the other way. And the other thing too is like okay, so there's touchdown regression from 18. Like, okay, if he has 14, if he has 12, 13, like for your fourth round pick, like what else are you expecting? You know what I mean? Like, are you projecting more than that for Brees Hall or Cortland Sutton, DJ Moore? Are you projecting any of those guys to score 12 or 14 touchdowns? So like he could lose 50% of his touchdowns from last year and still be a nice pick in the fourth round.
Yeah. And Jameson Williams goes off the pick with the pick right after us, and then George Pickens. But we've still got some good wide receiver options here. We'll throw Cortland Sutton in the queue in case he makes it back to us. Emeka Booker or Calvin Ridley. This is one where there were like 2 rounds of gap between them not too long ago. Now, I didn't expect to be looking at a Calvin Ridley or Emeka Buka decision, but that's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah, I like Ridley better. He's
Right.
actually one of my favorite guys this year. I do still like Ibuka. I like Pearsall. I'm fine with Travis Hunter in the fifth round too. If we want to kind of swing for some upside there, he's going 63.
Yeah, so Ridley goes off the board. God, it's so hard to pass on Kamara, but we just can't do 4 receivers in the first
Right.
5 rounds. So I prefer Pearsall to Ibuka ever so slightly. I don't know if you have a
Yeah,
strong lean either way.
I don't. I like both those guys a lot. So
Yeah. And it's one of those that
yeah,
I just happen to have more Igbuka than Pearsall, just because he was so cheap in those early drafts that you were able to get him pretty consistently. Ricky Pearsall, though, man, like you look at what's happening in San Francisco right now. Juwan Jennings on the pup. Just everybody's out. It's just going to be George
right.
Kittle and Ricky Pearsall starting the year.
Yeah, it does sound like Juwan Jennings is going to be back. I thought I heard that.
Oh,
That he's going to be okay for week 1.
I don't know
Maybe
why.
I thought that came out recently, but let me double check. That's
No,
the one that.
I'm looking it up now. You could totally be right. And I might have gotten the wrong read on this one. There's so much news coming in over the last 2 days that it's almost like impossible to keep up with.
Yeah, I thought that Shanahan said that they were expecting him back for week 1, but
Yeah,
now
I'm
that
looking
we're
right now, and I'm just not seeing anything
not
on this
seeing
because
it.
he still doesn't have his
Yeah.
contract. He still hasn't practiced. Yeah, the most recent thing I'm seeing is from yesterday. No resolution on the 49ers Juwan Jennings situation. Neither side has ruled anything out. I don't think either side is happy. Deadlines make deals happen, but we're past the deadline and still don't have anything there.
Okay, so the I guess the quote is Kyle Shanahan expects him back for week 1, but he hasn't practiced in a month.
Mm,
So, yeah, Tim Kawakami. So it sounds
right.
like there's still no resolution in the 49ers Jennings situation. I don't think either side has ruled out anything. I don't think either side is happy, but
Yeah.
deadlines make deals. So yeah, that adds up there.
Yeah, and
So
they just
coming up,
brought in a few guys
Kendrick Bourne,
recently. Just
I've seen.
yeah, Kendrick Bourne, and I heard some rumors about Marquez Valdez Scantling too. I believe.
That
So I mean,
makes sense.
they're really they brought in Sky Moore as well. I mean, this team is like clearly desperate for some sort of wide receiver help.
Yeah, and everything about Ricky Pearsall has been glowing. I actually think Pearsall and Ibuka are interesting because it's almost like carbon copies,
Oh
where
yeah,
like,
2 hours ago, MVS just signed with the 49ers as well.
okay, nice. But yeah, they're both like kind of right there. They went Rashee Rice, which I think would have been an interesting conversation.
That would have been
This
the
one's tough.
easiest pick there.
I
I
think I
like
like
Golden here.
Judy. Who do you like? You like
Yeah,
Golden over
I
Judy?
like Judy too. I mean, I kinda like all these guys. They all
Yeah,
feel so similar that you just kinda have to take your chance. I'm more than happy to go Judy here. I feel like he should have gotten a big bump with the announcement of Joe Flacco being the starter, and it just didn't really happen. Like he has kind of stayed firm in that round 6 range, and he's a player that, I think in a format like this, the cumulative scoring, I like Jerry Judy much more than on other platforms where you're playing for the playoffs because there
right.
is the fear that come week 15, it's going to be Dylan Gabriel or somebody else under there. But even if we're getting half a season, 10 games, whatever it is from Joe Flacco, you know that Jerry Judy is going to be giving you top 20 production in those weeks.
Yeah, I agree completely, and totally agree that in this format he makes a little bit more sense. Where we see with rookie wide receivers, there's usually that kind of slow and steady build up, and then by the fantasy playoffs, you're really excited to have them on your roster. And that stuff doesn't matter nearly as much in this format where week 1 is just as important as week 17. So that
Exactly.
to me does kind of bump the value a little bit of these guys who, I mean, Judy to me has as high a floor as anyone in this 6th round range, just because we know he's the wide receiver 1. We know Flacco is good enough to get, the ball out to his guy. He has a big arm. And so, yeah, I like Judy in the 6th round. He's in that. Jeff Bell kind of sold me on him. The conversation we had earlier this offseason. And I think everything been doing the Browns training camp reports, and everything keeps pointing towards Judy. At first, I was kind of thinking maybe Tillman would be like the 1B, but it seems like there's a ton of separation between those guys at this
And it
point.
seems like now this is kind of like in my head. This is where I see the wide receiver fall off. Like after Chris Olave, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, this little cluster right here, then it gets gross. You got Jacoby Myers requesting a trade, Jordan Addison suspended for a while. I do like Addison. I will say, even with the suspension, I feel like that's more than baked into his costs. Pittman is another okay guy. I feel like we are kind of forced into a position where we need to continue taking wide receivers here because of the start to our draft.
Right.
Yeah, no huge sliders at tight end or quarterback. So, I mean, Jordan Addison would be the guy that I'd want here. But if you want to go Jacoby Myers or Michael Pittman ahead of him, I want to push back at all.
No, I'm definitely Jordan Addison. I think he is I have kind of a teardrop right around that like 70 to 75 range. And he's like the very last guy in that tier for me.
Yeah.
I have him ahead of the 2 Buffalo guys who went there. And I have him ahead of like Andrews and Krosky Merritt also. So I do think round 7 is probably the round that I have the most trouble with, especially if you get past that kind of like Addison Olave tier, just because it feels like there's a bunch of guys who are exactly the same as the guys going in the 8th to 10th round.
Exactly.
So you're just
right.
it's like you can kind of pick your favorite, but you can poke holes in just all these guys. And none of them feel like great as a 7th round pick outside of, I do think Addison, or if like Pacheco or Olave fall, which they did in this draft. So that's where I would go there.
And I think when it comes, like when I see these guys like Jaden Reed and Josh Downs, like you said, like I don't see a huge gap between them and maybe like a Demario Douglas that you can get so much
Right.
later in drafts. A guy who, like, best case scenario, second on the team in targets. We'd need some touchdown luck for them to really, really pay off there. But that's kind of where I'm at. So let's just go ahead and zoom out for a second, take a look at this team and what we have drafted so far. We got some really good running back value early. So Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor to start. JSN is the wide receiver 1 in round 3. Follow that up with James Cook as the RB3, and then Ricky Pearsall, Jerry Jeudy, and Jordan Addison. So let me ask you, when you've got a build like this where we go 3 running backs with the first 4 picks, do you think like a 5 running back is kind of your cap here, or do you still like okay going with 6 running backs, or where do you kind of cap your running backs once you start like this?
I'm fine with 6. My kind of primary build is 3, 6, 8, and 3. But it's also like, I do feel like the running backs have started to dry up a little bit quicker than the other positions. So I have found myself doing some 5 running back, 9 wide receiver builds lately.
Yeah.
Just because there's nothing left at running back by the time you get to the 19th, 20th round lately.
I'll push back.
There's a couple. There's a couple. Sorry, go ahead.
Blake Corum, Kendre Miller. There's a couple of guys out there.
Even those guys, though, I've been in some drafts lately where they're gone in the 18th, and then I'm kind of sitting there looking for a 6th and not seeing anything I like.
Yeah,
I mean, every draft's a little different, but yeah, I have definitely warmed up a lot to Kendre Miller. Just as
healthy,
a really nice value. Yeah, and they really have kind of confirmed, like, yeah, he's the running back too. He's going to have a decent role. Like, I don't think it's going to be like a 300 plus touch season for Alvin Kamara. Can we see the other positions here? What else do we have?
Yeah, I wanted to throw Pittman in just because I think Pittman is one more that like I'd be okay. You look beyond Pittman and it does dry up. Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren, Tyrone Tracy, Zach Charbonnet, Travis Etienne. Looking over at tight ends, we got TJ Hawkinson, who I think is a good value. Opens us up for JJ McCarthy with that Addison stack as well. Evan Ingram, David Njoku. Looking at quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Dak Prescott, Justin Fields. Some good values there as well. Jalen Warren just went off the board. We can go a lot of different ways.
My 2 guys here would be either Hawkinson or Bo Nix. And I think I lead slightly to Bo Nix, but I don't have a real strong.
I do like Hawkinson quite a bit.
Yeah, let's go for
it. I don't know, man. Maybe sell me on Bo Nix because he's been such a tough click for me. Because when I look at like the raw production, I don't see anything that really differentiates him from Caleb Williams or Drake May or JJ McCarthy or the other year 2 guys. He had some good touchdown luck last year, but you expect a little bit of touchdown regression. And I feel like he is just one of the more inflated quarterbacks this year.
He's a guy I've warmed up to lately. So I think For one, he has similar rushing upside to those guys. Like, I think he had 500 yards last year. But then this is also just a bet on Sean Payton and like him figuring things out with like the other thing to kind of keep in mind is if you look at what Bo Nix did last year, and it was like Cortland Sutton, and that's it. You know, like they didn't have a tight end.
Right.
Their number one running back was Javonte Williams. You know, like Devon Vele was out there. They were doing stuff with Mims. And now, you know, you add Evan Ingram, you add RJ Harvey, you add, you know, like Troy Franklin's in his second year. I think there's room for that offense just to grow in general.
That's a good point.
And then, so I have kind of in this range, I've been starting to mix in like a Bo Nix, Evan Ingram stack because you can kind of double up on those two guys right here. But I
Evan
also
Ingram is still available. Yeah, I would have liked that one.
That would have been like the 1-2, and we don't know for sure if he'll make it back to us. But I also do really like Hawkinson. I think we talked about we drafted him in one of our NFFC drafts, and he was a guy I pushed for in that. And I love him in this format just because I think he's a good bet to get like 90 plus catches and just give you those weeks where you can kind of bank that 14, 15 points and then swing for upside on your late round tight ends.
Yeah, you know how drafting kind of like tells you the players that you like when you start looking back at your exposure. JJ McCarthy was one of those guys I didn't think I was like overly excited about. And then I checked my exposure the other day and I was at like 34% JJ McCarthy. And it's just like one of those, like he falls so late in drafts. And then because I like the values, you know, like I said, I've been taking Jefferson when I get in the middle of the first. I like Jordan Addison. I like TJ Hawkinson. It just sets me up for so many builds with JJ McCarthy that I have to like intentionally pump the brakes now because I'm like, I don't know if I want this much JJ McCarthy on my teams. So this next one here, Bo Nix is still available. Kind of kicking myself. Well, Evan Ingram, we could have gotten him. I think I would have liked Evan Ingram.
Evan Ingram went.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He went to pick before us. I'm fine with Nix.
Yeah, I like Nix, and I'll tell you why in a couple of rounds here too, because I had been waiting on quarterbacks until kind of that 120, 140 range, because I do think there's kind of this tier from, you know, I don't think there's any big difference between Prescott and Nix and Purdy and these guys who are going around 100 and the guys who are going around 130, like your Trevor Lawrence's, your JJ McCarthy's, all those guys. But there are, I feel like kind of similar right now about some of the running backs and wide receivers who are going to be available here. So there's a few guys I'm pretty excited about kind of in this 100 to 150 range at other positions. And so that's kind of pushed me to like, all right, I'm just going to get my QB1 a little bit earlier than I was earlier in the offseason because I'm a little bit more excited about some of these other guys we can get in these next few picks.
And something else, you know, again, just doing a lot of these drafts lately, there were so many people that were doing 2 quarterback builds earlier that you could kick that quarterback 2, quarterback 3 down into like round 16, 17, 18 and still walk away with somebody. I was doing a draft last night where almost every single person had a 3 quarterback build. There was one guy in there that had 4 quarterbacks. So like I'm sitting there in like round 15 hoping to take Joe Flacco and I get sniped on him. Then come back in round 16 and I get sniped on who was it? Oh, I got sniped on Anthony Richardson. I ended up having to settle for Tyler or I'm sorry, Spencer Rattler, where I'm just like,
yeah, that's tough.
The starter. Like, hopefully we get something here, but like so many people now, I think are wising up to the 3 quarterback builds that like that window slammed shut now. That if you don't get your 3 quarterbacks by like round 15, you're not getting a quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. So, what are you thinking here? I see you have wide receiver up. I'm kind of leaning that way unless one specific guy makes it here.
I don't know if McCarthy, you know, we've got this drafter right after us and then before us in the next round doesn't have a quarterback yet. So it would be okay taking McCarthy here just because we've already got Addison and Hawkinson, but I also like Braylon Allen a ton. Marvin Mims works okay with Bo Nix, who we just took. Some really nice tight ends. This is a tough one, man. I know you saw the players available. I'd go
Braylon Allen here. I'm pretty excited about him. So one of the things I have been doing lately is going a little bit running back heavy kind of in this part of the draft. There's a couple guys I like, but I do think we are going to have to start getting some wide receivers too. Yeah, so one of the things that's been interesting, and we talked about this a little bit offline with Rashee Rice, is you have all these really talented players who we know are going to be out for 5 or 6 weeks. And it's just like, how many of those guys can you budget to have on your team in like the drafters formats? We already have one guy like that in Addison who's out 3 weeks. But it's also like, man, it's so hard to pass on like Brandon Ayuk at 150,
Right.
or like now that we have some clarity on Chris Godwin being back sometime in October, he's another one where he's looks like he's still available unless I missed it. Like, so you have these guys who are falling further in drafts, and it's hard because you can't take too many of them. But like, if you feel good about your early round picks, there's no buys those first 4 weeks. So you can kind of gamble on like, okay, I think my kind of core guys who I drafted early can get me through these first 4 or 5 weeks with big scores.
Right. And
And then by the time I get to the middle of the season and buys start and injuries start, now I have like the cavalry's coming with like, you have Ayuk coming in, or you have Rashee Rice waiting in the wings, or any of these guys. So that's something that I think has been challenging, but I think there's maybe an opportunity there if you feel good enough about your kind of early round guys to take some risks on these guys and hope that you're still putting up solid enough scores in the first 4 weeks that you're not trailing too much on the field. And then those last 10 weeks is when you can maybe separate yourself while everybody else is dealing with their buys and stuff. You've got these 6 wide receivers that you feel really good about.
There goes JJ McCarthy. He went off the board at 123, right at ADP. So not going to be able to get him. We can look at some of the other quarterbacks. And what I want to say real quickly, to weather the storm with these early suspensions, Olamide Zaccheaus, get him in like round 18, and he should get
That's
off.
The other thing too. I feel better about
like on the clock though. Let's talk.
Let's look at what's it. Wide receiver, quarterback, I guess would be my 2.
Yeah, Darnell Mooney, who could also miss some of the early time, but I do like Mooney.
Let's go Mooney.
Or
actually, it's your call, but I'm kind of leaning Mooney, and I think we can get a quarterback next round.
Yeah, and a quarterback that I've really warmed up to a lot that you can get late, especially just having, big JSN bags. I'm really warming up to Sam Darnold a lot. And he is the one that like feels like he should kind of be in this cluster right here with like Jordan Love and Michael Penix, but you got to scroll way down. Like he is still falling so late in drafts. And then you can pick him and then come back in the next round and throw Torrey Horton in the mix as well. So Darnold,
the other nice thing about
Darnold
too, especially if you already have JSN, is people don't like to naked quarterback. And like JSN's the only pass catcher who's going in the top 160 or so with Seattle. So it tends to, especially if you're the JSN drafter, you can see him fall later than maybe his ADP says, because other people aren't in a hurry to grab him because they don't have that stack that they're chasing.
Right. And yeah, I will say, like, I feel like playing the waiting game on drafters lately for quarterback has been so dangerous because everybody just seems to be getting like QB3 drunk, like trying to get these guys as early as possible. That I often
I've had a little better luck this past weekend with it, but I guess
it was just the ones I was in then.
And every draft is different. So like right now we're for sure going to get either Lawrence or Penix here if we want to go that route, which
I like
looks
both of them.
good.
I mean, I also like Bryce Young too. Cam Ward already went off the board, but
if we want to, we could probably wait around to get our second here if we want to. There's one running back I want to talk about if he's still there. Can we look at the running backs?
Yeah.
It's Quinshon Judkins is, I think, super interesting.
He is.
But if you don't want to, we can go quarterbacks, probably the safe play.
I mean, I feel like Romeo Doubs is such a boring vanilla pick, but I find myself drafting a ton of Romeo Doubs in this range too. I mean, just kind of the unquestioned wide receiver 1 here. But I do like Trevor Lawrence.
Your call.
I'm gonna go with Doubs.
3, 2.
I'm gonna go with Doubs, man. He's just such a boring guy, but like his major usage and the only reason like I wouldn't push hard for Doubs, but we are thin at wide receiver. So JSN, Ricky Pearsall, Judy, Addison, Mooney, and Doubs. And Doubs, he's always on the field. And I think like I am just very much so expecting this entire Packers offense to be better this year. And Doubs is that one guy that there was like no question. Like it was like who else is going to be in on 2 wide receiver sets with Romeo Doubs? And I know like the numbers aren't great, but he's one of those guys where if this ends up being a good offense, like double-digit touchdowns are very much so in the range of outcomes for Romeo Doubs. Like he is their big-bodied X receiver. They use him a lot to move the chains on third down. But if this offense scores a ton, I think he does have that out. And when I look at the other wide receivers in this range, I'm just not seeing that sort of touchdown upside with the other guys here.
Yeah, I mean that I agree in terms of if you definitely want your wide receiver 6 this early. I haven't been pushing wide receiver 6 this early because I like the late round guys enough. I think is maybe where I would either go one of those typically what I've been doing is either getting my QB2 here or I love taking a shot on Judkins here
Yeah.
too.
So I got Judkins in the queue. I mean, Sam Darnold, his ADP
And then if we want to go,
171. Do we want to, if, well, there goes
I
Judkins
would
off
for
the board.
sure wait on Darnold. I think we can get him at 173 or 180.
Probably. All right.
Yeah,
We can
plus
wait on that
Judkins.
then. So
But
let's look.
if you'd rather have him as our QB3 though, I do like going with Bryce Young here.
Bryce Young. Yeah. I like Bryce Young quite a bit. And then that also, Xavier Legette is just so cheap in drafts right
Yeah,
now.
I've been drafting him a ton.
Like
And
round
then you can
18
get
and
Cokers
19.
there too. He's one of
Exactly.
those
Yeah.
guys that it's kind of nice because he had 3 different guys you can draft if you want to stack him after you take him. And
There goes Bryce Young. So that's not going to work out for
no.
us.
All right, so tight end. What do we want to do? Running back. I don't like news.
We could use
I
another
actually
tight
don't
end.
mind. I don't mind Ollie Gordon if we want to go there. I know his ADP says lower.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with
He's up
that.
to
I mean, he's a guy.
158 now.
Yeah, he should be going way higher than his ADP says. But see, this is what I'm saying, man. Maybe it's just the leagues that I'm in, but like you look at round 9 through 13 here, like there's just so much red on the board. Like everybody,
Right.
it seems like everybody's kind of playing the same game right now. Like
So
everybody,
yeah, that's
really trying to
why
get
I
the quarterback
typically
for
am
this.
trying to get my QB3 in that 12th round because a lot of times Penix falls. He's probably my most drafted quarterback this year because he's at the tail end of that kind of tier. And then if I miss him, I'm trying to get Young or Cam Ward, but Cam Ward went 128 in this one. So yeah, we missed it a little bit with the Doves pick, but we can still get 2 more guys. We'll be all right.
Yeah. And where, Cam went early in this one. And I do have Cam Ward 1 spot ahead of Bryce Young in my rankings.
I do
Those
too.
are like some of my favorite QB2 targets right there. And just Ward going off the board way earlier than expected. I mean, am I seeing that correctly? Yeah, he went off the board before Jordan
128.
Love, before
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, before Michael Penix. That's not something I normally see.
And-
but I just talked about Cam Ward as like being one of my favorite value picks. But I think when you're drafting him that high, you kind of lose out on the value. And it makes him such a nice
He
pick.
went Okonkwo with the next pick too in the 12th. It's interesting.
All right. That must
So
be.
yeah, he's high on those 2 guys, which I like both of them too, but I like them more like 14th, 16th, or 14th, 15th.
I recognize this name too, Elite Drafter. I've seen them in a handful of drafts this weekend. You see a lot of the same names here on drafters, like a lot of people really chasing that overlay. And I talked briefly about Olamide Zaccheaus earlier. There was somebody that was in 3 straight drafts with me on Saturday night and took Olamide Zaccheaus round 14 in every single one of them. So that's a guy like I want some exposure to, but it was like the same guy just kept beating me to the punch in every single round. So looking over here, we'll throw Sam Darnold in the queue just because he is the quarterback atop the queue right now. We see this.
I do think we should try to get our quarterbacks here.
Yeah, this guy's
quarterback
only has
and a tight
Josh
end.
Allen. This guy only has Josh Allen, so I'd assume. But he also has 2 tight ends, so I'd feel better about kicking tight end down the board. Take Sam Darnold here and then see what tight ends can make it back to us with the next pick at 173. And this is such a tough game because you don't want to chase runs, but you also don't want to be stuck without a quarterback. It's kind of a balancing act. All right, so that'll be the easy pick right there is Sam Darnold. And then let's take a look and talk through some of these available tight ends. Cade Otton, I believe I saw some news came out today that he's going to miss the start of the year, right?
I had not seen that yet today. Let me look.
I don't know, man. Maybe I'm hallucinating. I might be hallucinating news here, but
I haven't been quite as online. Yeah,
he picked up a
new leg issue adds uncertainty.
Will be quote out for a little bit per Todd Bowles. So
yikes,
maybe we should have gone Igbuka in that earlier round. He might be the last one standing there in Tampa Bay at this point. Jonnu Smith also wasn't crazy about the trade when it first happened, but I think everybody was kind of not crazy about the trade, and it caused him to fall so far in drafts that I'll take the chance here. Harold Fannin is another interesting one. This might be early on Harold Fannin, but we definitely need a tight end too. And I don't not like Harold Fannin. We could probably wait on him, but we'll see. He's another one of those guys right now, just like Ollie Gordon, that is getting so much buzz that he's just regularly going way ahead of his ADP.
Right. And I also do think if Cade Otton, if it's only a week or 2, it's not the end of the world. But this is kind of the first time I'm trying to look at it a little bit while we're on here. Just says we'll miss a little bit of time as he deals with leg injury soreness.
Yeah, so a little bit of time.
Not a lot of clarity.
We got Jalen McMillan, Cade Otton, Chris Godwin, all missing at the same time. Trey Palmer is also dealing with an injury now, I believe. Or no, they just released Trey
I think
Palmer.
they
So,
released him, yeah, because he was
yeah.
visiting somebody I saw.
Well,
Or
Torrey
actually,
Horton
he
goes
got
off the
claimed
board
today,
here.
I believe. What's
All
that?
right. Torrey Horton went off the board here, so I was hoping to get. I mean, we've still got the JSN Darnold stack, which is nice, but
And
Torrey
there's a
Horton
lot
just
of,
so
I
steamed
mean,
up.
I feel I've been kind of waiting till the last 2 rounds to get like wide receiver 7 and 8. I feel like that's the position that is the deepest for me. So I haven't been in a huge hurry to get these depth wide receivers through here.
And that's it. Like you
So
said, running
I
backs.
like Jonnu's there.
Yeah, I think Jonnu makes sense here. We'll probably look at a third tight end, but man, Jatavian Sanders, it's been a really quiet camp for him. I still like Mike
Yeah, he
Gesicki
had some
because
buzz early and then just went. Yeah.
I still like Mike Gesicki as well. Juwan Johnson, we can throw him in as like a super late round pick. There's still
a
options
handful
out there.
Of guys through there. Yep.
But also when we have TJ Hawkinson, like a tight end 3 is the last of my concern. Like I'm not super worried about getting a tight end 3 when we have TJ Hawkinson and Johnny Smith. And look at that, Harold Fannin, 174 goes off the board, pick immediately after us. So maybe we're on the right train of thought there by thinking about taking him.
Yeah, and so it might not be a bad idea to get a QB, like maybe an Aaron Rodgers if he's still there.
Well, I think
we do need our third
Oh
quarterback.
yeah, we do. Yeah, I kind of forgot about
Darnold
that.
was our second since we went.
Man, maybe I'm a sucker, but I have still been taking Anthony Richardson, like falling into like round 18 and 19 now. And maybe not in this build because I'm not crazy about the top 2 quarterbacks we have, but like when I could walk away with 2 of those like high upside QB2s, then I'm okay taking Richardson as a QB3 because like even if he's only starting 4, 5, 6 games, whatever it is this year, like you're still getting good production when he's out there. And I'm just not really buying into the Daniel Jones starting all 17 games. We'll see how that one ages. Jalen Coker going off the board in round 15. That's the earliest I've seen in a while. Isaac T-Slaw as well going off the board in round 16 after the Tim Patrick release. So we got some sharp drafters in here that are paying attention to the news as it's coming in.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. You do see some of these guys like Tesla moving up, and I think he's fine in this range. So yeah, I mean, I think I like QB here, but I'm also down with waiting.
Flacco is a QB3. We drafted Judy a little bit earlier. Is Flacco?
Yeah, I like honestly Stafford, Rodgers, even Dart, Flacco. I'm good with any of those guys. I've been starting to wait a little bit longer on QB3, and whenever you start seeing it get down to 2-3 guys, you kind of watch the board a little bit and figure out where you need to get these guys. So
do you think you're in a position where we need to get these guys now? Or because I like the Rachaad White value here quite a bit, falling like way below ADP for some reason. We're also in range. Taj Brooks makes sense. Or do
I would go QB or tight end would be my 2 personally, I think. Or if we went, I probably would go Isaiah Likely if it was me, but it's your call.
Yeah, let's do Likely.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
There's a player I haven't really drafted much yet, so I'm happy to get some exposure there. And Rachaad White goes off the pick with the very next pick there. But go ahead.
There's one running back who, we already have 5. So, and I think 6 is kind of the max. And there's one running back who I can't stop drafting. I think you might be on the same page with Monangai.
Oh yeah,
I guess
So I feel like when I get into these rounds, it's Taj Brooks, Kyle Monangai, Blake Corum, Dre Miller, or just like auto picks to close out my drafts.
We were talking about it a little bit. Like I'm through 111 of these so far. I'm going to try to get to 150, and I believe I'm at like 59% Kyle Monangai. It's just
not a bad stance to take.
It's just like in the late rounds, that's kind of been my guy, and especially on just teams like this where we got 3 really big time quarterbacks early. 2 kind of upside guys who I think are number 2 in their offense. And then you can get Monangai as your 6. And I'm pretty sure he's also the number 2 in his offense if we can get him.
Did you see
and then if not, then
from Polls?
Yeah, that was the one
backfield yesterday.
That was the one I was trying to relay last night. And I think I even messed up the GM's name, but that was the quote that I was talking about last night where he said that's going to be like a 1-2 punch. Didn't mention Roshan, like that kind of stuff.
And they didn't ask him about Monangai. They just asked him about the backfield.
They asked him about backfield.
It's a 1-2 shot with DeAndre and Kyle, and it's like, okay, we pay attention to that.
What I thought. It's one of those where it's like, I think this is the way this is going. I'm like, am I the crazy one? And then you get a little bit of confirmation. Just these little tidbits here and there, like just the whole offseason, it's been this steady little drip of tiny hints that kind of get you to that spot, at least for me. So I like him, and then we can try to wait on because this is right where he's going, and then hope that we can get a quarterback at 212, which I think there's 4 or 5 of them we can.
I mean,
And if worst case, we'll go
Flacco or
Richardson.
Dart. I'd
Yeah,
be happy with Flacco or Dart. So we'll go Monangai here with this next pick, right? And you do have
yeah, and
Monangai
then
over
try
Taj
quarterback.
Brooks. I think like
I
the
do
contingent
personally.
upside for Taj Brooks is obviously higher, being a part of a much better offense. But Kyle Monangai, oh
Oh, we
well,
got
there he goes.
sniped.
Whoever this is, man, JTS Brown, whoever this
He's
is,
just
might be
taking all
watching
our
the stream
players.
because they're taking
I
all.
wonder if he is just watching our screen, just like
So do
messing
you
with
want to
us.
go with Taj Brooks here? Do you like some of these receivers instead? Troy Franklin, that
I like
helped
Troy
us.
Franklin for the stack. Yeah,
Yeah, I do like that. And then let's
I'm
hope
okay.
with this next pick that we can get either we'll throw all of these quarterbacks, kind of your
Quarterbacks in there.
glass in case of emergency tier of quarterbacks here.
Yep, yep, exactly.
So we'll take a quarterback next
So
pick and then probably close out. I mean, we can go with wide receiver and running back or 2 wide receivers with these last 2 picks, just seeing how it shakes out.
yep, that's how I've been playing it. So once you have those 5 running backs, so if Kendra Miller is the other guy who, if he's there, like in the 19th, would be a target for me.
Yeah, but definitely. And I
Or
almost
Quorum.
wonder
So
too,
yeah,
we'll
either of
see
those.
how the board looks when it comes back to us, but we've got this drafter here right in front of us has 3 quarterbacks.
3.
This guy has 3
That's
quarterbacks, and then
3.
these each have 2. So if it does make it back to us at 212 where all 3 of these
All
guys
3.
are on the
Yep.
board, I think we take another pick knowing that at least one of those 3 will probably make it back to us. But we'll see. Again, I expect
Yeah, if one of
probably
them's
one of those
gone.
quarterbacks is gone.
Yeah,
Depending on
I like having 3, especially with Darnold as our 2. So I would kind of prioritize that here
do you have
personally.
a
But
so how would you rank these guys? Would you put Flacco ahead and then probably Rodgers all the way up top?
that's how I'd have it in that order. Yeah.
And there goes Kendra Miller. I mean, a big mover. This is a guy who has been
Yeah.
like falling into round 20 in almost every draft that I've done so
That's what I
far.
was saying.
So
He started. People are starting to recognize. Like I said, I did a bunch of drafts on drafters over the weekend. I was doing my 4 or 5 at a time. I think I did 3 of those, like kind of sessions. And he was a guy who sometimes I was able to get kind of like the 19th, 20th, and then sometimes these running backs who I liked, who you could get in the 20th, 2-3 weeks ago, they aren't there anymore. And that includes I'm fine with Brashard Smith still in like the 20th. He's
and
going
he
a little
just
bit
went like
earlier
around
again.
18th. Yeah, he just
Yeah.
went.
And Kendra. And so, yeah, you get to this point where there's just nothing left at running back these last 2 or 3 rounds in a lot of these drafts. But for me, at least, there's still some wide receivers. So I have typically pretty similar to this. I'll be like looking at my QB3 in this 17th, 18th round with Rodgers, Flacco, Dart are usually the guys I'm targeting as my QB3. Nice,
Rodgers
cheap.
goes off the board there. So we're getting at least Flacco or Dart with this next pick.
Yeah.
So at least we got something there. And would you prefer Flacco over Dart? I think with the Judy pick.
I think so. I mean, it's close though because we do have Judy. So if that's a tiebreaker,
And that's it. I think I have Dart ahead of Flacco in a vacuum, but
yeah.
I think with Judy, like we've already kind of made the investment in Cleveland. So I
But
think
yeah,
it doesn't
either way, and I
really.
don't even hate trying to get both of them if we want to go that way route too. In which case, we'd probably want to go.
I mean, it's definitely the
At least
quarterback
either
is
way.
definitely our weakness on this build. So I've done a handful
If
of
we
things
wanted to do,
rebuild.
yeah, I've done a few of those too, where it's just like like I said, I like 3, 6, 8, 3, but if the 6th guy's there, not there at running back, I'm not gonna like push it too much.
Yeah, I'll throw a few of these
So I
names
don't
in with our
mind.
last couple of picks, guys, that we might be interested in as well.
So
Olamide
I
Zaccheaus,
like,
I'm going to take the wheel and take Olamide Zaccheaus if he's here at 221.
yeah, I
This is a
like
guy
that.
that I just keep getting sniped on, and it's infuriating me. So if I have a chance to get him, I'm taking him here.
Yeah, Ray, I like, and then
It's another good
Amari, I
pick.
think is fine. And then I've been doing a lot of Cavante Turpin in the 20th
Same.
round because he's always there. Like nobody
Same.
ever takes him.
And he was one of those that I had to like force myself to look at other options because he was just an auto pick for so long. And then one day I was like, I have 60% Cavante Turpin, and I don't know if that's a hill that I want to die on. So now, like, I kind of jokingly tweeted this out the other day, but I was like, every day I wake up trying to find new players to draft in round 20, like just,
Yeah,
pouring over all of the depth charts and news and like, all right, who, like, all right, maybe Casey Anthony, start like, it's just, I keep saying Casey Anthony. My goodness,
it's
Casey Washington.
Washington.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
My goodness.
I do that all the time.
Ugh. All right. So let's see how this one plays out here with these next 2 picks. And then let's one more time just flip over to our roster here. We only have 5 running backs, but I feel like with
They're
Gibbs,
really good
Taylor,
ones.
Cook, Allen, and Gordon, I'm almost okay because like even Braylon Allen and Ollie Gordon, like these aren't your typical like injury away
An
guys, these are
RB4 and
guys who
RB5.
can contribute immediately too. Like week 1, they could be guys who score 2 touchdowns and like make our lineup. We're not waiting for an injury to push them into relevance. These are guys who could be relevant immediately and then see their role grow from there. So I think I'm okay with a 5 running back build here. Blake
Agree.
Corum, I mean, he's okay if he makes it back to us with the final pick, but my most rostered player so far, I feel like I need to kind of go elsewhere. There's Kevontae Turpin in round 19. Whoever this is definitely watching this show.
He's
Like, they have to be.
he's
Who else
stealing
is
our
taking
stuff. I gotta
Kevontae Turpin? There's no way that this is coincidental.
Let's do Zacchaeus then, since we lost our 20th round wide receiver, and then
I can't believe that, man. That's
funny.
yeah. So let's look at some other guys. You had mentioned Amari Cooper. We'll throw him in here. Keandre Lambert Smith. Like I can't help but feel like it's such a trap, but he's still a guy. Like if I have Herbert, I'll take that 20th round pick on him. Kayshon Boutte has been getting some decent steam here. Calvin Austin.
I still like Austin probably of these.
Yeah.
I might even have him over Cooper. Just because I think he is the wide receiver too there. I saw Roman Wilson went absurdly early in this draft. Did you see that?
Yeah, and I
he went like 140. Like keep going. There he is. 142.
Yeah, that's
I've never seen him go. I don't know if I've seen him go for like 190, but yeah, you never know in these things. Every draft's a little different.
I think I'm pretty plugged into NFL news. I mean, I know I am. Like you and I, we talk NFL news all the time, and like everything that I've read out of Pittsburgh is that Calvin Austin is the number 2 there, and that like Roman Wilson, showing little flashes here and there, but he's the 3.
I'm doing the Pittsburgh team report, so I've been grinding that out, and yeah, it's Austin ahead of Wilson. And I mean, I guess Austin has been out for a little bit with an oblique injury, but he's back at practice now. And yeah, I think he's the guy. There were some early reports from Jeremy Fowler, like I guess talked to Tomlin. He said, like kind of inside scoop that like they are really excited about what Austin can do with a little bit better quarterback play.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's the 2, and I do think there might be a little bit of a rotation. Like I don't think he's going to be like an every down 95% of the snap number 2, but I think he's going to be a 75-80% of the snaps.
And to me, Calvin Austin, it's just like there were a lot of people that were pretty bullish on Austin last year, and he had a good year, like 550 yards, nothing to scoff at all. But I think that it's just like the typical post type sleeper where there was like a lot of buzz for Austin last year. He didn't have that huge breakout, and then people just assume, well, because he didn't break out, he's never going to. But this is still a very young player, year 3, and what we expect to be just an overall improved offense. So more than happy to take the shot if he makes it back to us. We've also got Kayshon Boutte here. Let's throw some other names in here just in case.
Kayshon Boutte got cut there, right? So where's he at?
Did he? I missed that.
Wait, no, maybe I'm wrong.
You might be right. No, he made the 53. Oh, I saw he made the 53 yesterday. Unless
you're right.
Changed.
Yeah. But
all right. Yeah.
You're right. Kendrick Bourne got released. You're right.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. 2 of the same.
The KB kind of
another guy, and I'm not gonna like push to draft him here, but I saw that Tyquan Thornton made the final roster as well. He makes for an intriguing round 20 pick, but I think Calvin Austin, we've talked about him enough. This is the pick here, right?
Yep, I like that. Especially, I mean, as your wide receiver 9, and he's the kind of guy too who, if you're going to take these late round guys, like Franklin and Austin, I think both have that can get you there in one play speed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which like 100%. you're not going to be banking on like an 8 catches for 90 yards for any of these guys. You're hoping you get like 3 for 90 and a touchdown or something.
Right. So let's take a look at this one real quickly here. Bo Nix, Sam Darnold, and Joe Flacco is our quarterback room. Certainly a weak quarterback room, but that's the game you play when you wait on quarterback, and hopefully we can get some, good weeks that are not lining up here on top of each other, and get QB1 production out of these 3 running backs. Clear strength of this team: Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Braylon Allen, and Ollie Gordon for wide receivers. Considering that we waited, our first wide receiver was in round 3, and then we didn't come back with Ricky Pearsall until round 5. This is a pretty solid wide receiver room, in my opinion. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Ricky Pearsall, Jerry Jeudy, Jordan Addison, Darnell Mooney, Romeo Doubs, Troy Franklin, Olamide Zaccheaus, Calvin Austin. And again, I kind of said it earlier, but I really do feel like Olamide Zaccheaus is just like the perfect guy to pair up with these suspended players. If you're taking Rashee Rice, if you're taking Jordan Addison, or if you're taking Chris Godwin or Brandon Ayuk, these guys we know are going to miss the early part of the year, Olamide Zaccheaus probably not going to be a focal point of the offense late in the year, but to start the year, sounds like he's going to be pretty heavily involved. And then TJ Hawkinson, Jonnu Smith, and Isaiah Likely, a nice mix where we got ourselves one elite tight end and then two guys later with immense upside. So this one, looking back, I'm not crazy about the quarterback room, but this is one that could easily prove me wrong. Like we saw it just last year. I think had you looked at this room, you'd have felt awful about it. But Bo Nix was a QB1 and Sam Darnold was a QB1, and like crazier things have happened. So I think this is one, like, even though I don't feel great about it right now, I see the upside here, and that's really what you're hoping for more than anything.
Yeah, definitely. And then like by waiting at QB, we are super deep at wide receiver. So you have so many outs every week where we have 6 guys in the top 140 picks. And
so let me just
hoping that you
pick your brain real quickly, because I did a draft yesterday where I went with 8 running backs in a 0 RB build. Have you done many 0 RB builds this year? I feel like it's kind of fallen out of favor, but I drafted one yesterday that I really liked the way it turned out, and I went 8 running backs and 7 wide receivers, but just hammering those injury away guys in the middle rounds.
Yeah, you know what? I've warmed up to it a little bit lately. We talked about it a little bit. I was totally out on kind of like the 0 running back build. And I think my versions of 0 running back aren't quite that extreme, but I actually also drafted one last night. And I'm sorry, I'm looking away here.
Oh, you're good.
To see if I could kind of, because it was a really interesting one, because I went, it was from the 1 spot, and I got, the Higgins, I think it was like, like Higgins, Chase. And then I ended up not getting my RB2 until like the 8th or 9th round, which is about as like 0 running back as I can go.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much further than that.
I actually really like the way it turned out. And part of it is because I was, able to still get like Quinshon Judkins and some of those guys, and Braylon Allen, who I've really warmed up to. And especially, I could be wrong. I really think Quinshon Judkins signs in the next 2 days. So I'm kind of taking a stand on that in recent drafts where, I think in this draft, he went 145, and he's a guy who I'm making a priority in those kind of like 140 range. And part of that, this draft, I don't think it totally made sense because we, like James Cook kind of fell in our lap there. But what I've been doing a little bit more lately is just 2 running backs early instead of 3.
Right.
And then kind of hitting those like Braylon Allen, Quinshon Judkins, Ollie Gordon types a little bit heavier than I was early in the year.
Yeah. Looking back at this one that I drafted, I guess it wasn't like pure 0. I mean, I guess you can say it was kind of 0 RB. I took my first running back in round 5, but it was one where I was picking from the 101, and I was able to get Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, JSN with my first 3 picks. And then I got Joe Burrow in there as well as my 4th pick. And then round 5, I got DeAndre Swift. And then I just hammered a bunch of middle round guys. So I don't know if it's technically 0 RB, but DeAndre Swift, Isaiah Pacheco, Ramondre Stevenson, Ray Davis, Will Shipley, Rashad White, Taj Brooks, Blake Corum. Feels like maybe it could possibly work. I think I just got bored of so many of the same builds that I, kind of wanted to try out something a little bit different. But one more time, want to thank everybody who took the time to tune in today. Dan, want to thank you for not just coming on the stream today, but just like everything that you've helped with this offseason. We've done these training camp reports. We've done high stakes draft. We've done drafts on drafters. You and I have been spending a lot of time putting our brains together this offseason. So thank you for making the time, and thank you for everyone that took the time today to tune into this episode. As I like to sign off the episodes, usually saying I'll see you next week. This is the last one that we're doing. So get over here on Drafters. We're looking at some potential overlay here, which just increases your chances of winning money. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.